What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com. Welcome you to the Week 13 Contest Prep Update Series. So, kind of hard to believe that we're already 13 weeks in. I've done preps in the past that were only 12 weeks long. So, we are making pretty good progress as far as that goes. I feel great. I feel pretty solid from an energy standpoint. So, let's dive into some of the stats. So, from a weight standpoint, my weight has been dropping quite a bit this week, actually. So, started the week on Monday at 169.7. and then woke up on Friday at 165.7, so dropping steadily there. I do have some traveling this week, so there may be a couple holes in the scale measurements, but the weight is certainly trending in the right direction. Again, basing off of the tentative goal weight of 168.1, I am ahead of schedule per that morning weigh-in on Friday. As far as cardio has been, I've been doing 20 minutes at level 13, same as last week. But I'm not going to lie, y'all, I've been doing a lot more neat activity. So like I said, we've got some traveling coming up. We're going to be in Oregon for the next 2 weeks. So I've been getting things ready for that. You know, mowing the yard, cleaning out chicken coops, doing some construction stuff, just like all the random things you do when you get ready for a trip. So my daily step count is normally around 6,000 steps on average. This past week, it's been around 10 to 14,000 steps. So did not scale the cardio up, but the step count has significantly increased beyond what it is at baseline, which I think is one of the contributing factors to the steady drop in weight. Also, I mentioned last week about how I've been increasing sodium to try and get aggressive with that. That has also been the case this week. I'm keeping that sodium level high because, just to add insult to injury here, my AC went out this week, which is like, this is the hottest week of Arkansas thus far. So our house has been like 90 degrees, which is pretty much unbearable. So all this work that I'm doing, in addition to not having an air conditioner to walk inside to, has not been great. But because of that, I've been a little bit more dehydrated and drinking a lot more water. So I've increased my sodium. That's steadily at 10 grams a day or more, and then drinking a lot more fluid, but that, as you can see, has not resulted in an increase in scale weight. So I feel pretty good there. I don't feel like I'm holding any excess fluid retention. I don't have any edema on my ankles. My wrists aren't swollen. My fingers aren't swollen. I'm seeing a lot more vascularity. My skin is thinning out. So from a water retention standpoint, I haven't had any issues on that front, which is good. Let's talk about the macros a little bit here. So I am at 150 grams of fat, 190 grams of protein, 15 grams of total carbs. So my protein is most certainly exceeding that of my fat in grams, but when you look at percent of total calories, I'm still consuming 62.2% of my total calories from dietary fat, so still definitely a higher fat ratio by all intents and purposes. Now, when it comes to the foods I'm using to hit those macros, let's dive into that. So last week I did not have heavy cream, and my coffee was just horrendous, so I had to bring back the heavy cream. So I've got 2 tablespoons of heavy cream in my morning coffee. I'm doing 1 chocolate peanut butter cup brick a day. That's normally within an hour of my training, so post-training I'll have that brick. And then my second and final meal this week has been 5 whole eggs, 18 ounces of venison. So that meal is 150 grams of protein and 50 grams of total fat, dietary fat. So like I said in a prior video, I generally don't recommend having a meal in which the protein grams exceeds fat by that much, but because of how I'm structuring the macros right now, that's what I've been doing. I do have the brick, which is obviously much higher in fat, to kind of balance things out. But as a general rule of thumb, I always encourage people to have more fat, at least equal to fat, but more fat than protein in a given meal, unless you have a specific goal that you're kind of tweaking like I am here with this prep and trying to figure out what my protein threshold is. Now, I have been feeling great. I have had a good energy. I haven't had any issues in that regard. There are times when I feel a little depleted. By the end of the day, if it's getting stretched out and I haven't eaten yet, I definitely am hungry. But it certainly hasn't become unbearable. I don't feel like I've been an ass to anybody. I haven't let my mood get hindered or anything by the lower calories. So feel pretty good in that regard. But I can most certainly tell that my body is consuming a lot more protein than it typically does relative to dietary fat because, from a stat standpoint, my blood ketones are a little bit lower on average than they have been, and then my blood glucose is a little bit higher. So my ketones now are typically usually less than 1 millimolar, whereas when the higher fat ratio, it's typically higher. Again, not a negative thing necessarily, but I have noticed that. and my blood sugar has stayed pretty consistent around the 70s or 80 mark. As I get even lower on the fat, higher on the protein, to find that unique protein threshold, I'll probably see those numbers continue in that direction even more so. And then once I start recognizing more brain fog and more inflammation, that's when I'll start probably dropping the protein, but I haven't hit that point yet, haven't hit my threshold yet, so I'm going to keep moving the needle forward with regards to slowly titrating this fat down and the protein up. Speaking about electrolytes, I've still been doing, 6 or 7 packets of the LMNTs a day. And I just realized this, but there are actually 5 to 10 calories per element packet, and depending on the flavor, 1 or 2 grams of total carbs, and that did not register on this. So if I am consuming 6, 7 packets of those a day, that would have a slightly higher carb count and calorie count than what this is reflecting by, but my weight's trending down and my body's not holding excess fluid, so those slight increases in total carbs and calories are obviously not having a negative impact there, so I'm not really worried about it. Also, I've introduced this other supplement called Hydration. It's one of Mark Bell's Within You hydration supplements. It's got some amino acids in there, and it's got 1,000 milligrams of sodium, so another source of sodium for me. It's got some potassium, magnesium, and it's like a chocolate flavor. It is sweetened with sucralose, which I can tell. It's kind of funny. When you get this low in calories and your body's pretty much functioning real time with what you're giving it, you are much more in tune with how certain things impact your body, GI tract specifically. And people may doubt me on this, but I can most certainly tell that the introduction of that product, with it being sweetened by sucralose, has resulted in a little bit of a negative GI effect for me. Nothing crazy, but sucralose it's not what my body naturally gravitates to. It doesn't respond as well to, but I'm going to keep it in because I'm only doing 1 of those a day. I'm having it typically in the evening. I'll heat up some water and I'll put 1 of those packets in there, and it tastes just like hot cocoa. It's kind of thicker, even though it's just with water, and I really look forward to it in the evening because I've been having my first meal, the brick, pretty early, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. My second meal is normally around 5 or 6, and then I've been going to bed later around like 9 or 10. So having that hot cocoa, similar drink to kind of cap off the night has allowed me to sleep better, and it just gives me something to look forward to. So the slight increase in GI distress is a worthwhile price to pay for me to have that in the evening. Plus, it's just another good way to get some more sodium in. So that's one thing I've added in there. It has 3 grams of total carbs, 2 of which are fiber. So there is that. But again, my weight's still going down. I'm getting leaner. I'm not really worried about it. All right, let's dive into some updated posing footage here. All right. So we got the front relaxed, and I've been working with a posing coach, Rachel Daniels. This is going to start showing some of those changes that I've picked up from her, but you should see more of those changes roll out with updated posing footage as I continue to work with her and learn more. So a couple changes here with these is that I'm trying to hold my hands more even. In the past, I would have one hand, typically my rear hand, lower. I'm trying to keep things more symmetrical across the top here. Going into the most muscular rounds here, I've also been kicking 1 foot out more and kind of shifting my weight to the back leg on both the front double bicep and the lat spread pose. So that's one little tweak we've made. We got the side chest and side tricep here, making sure to hold my chin a little bit higher than I was in the past, and kind of tweaking a few things with the side tricep pose. And then with the back poses, one thing I've been trying to do is just squat down a little bit lower. And I haven't perfected these posing updates yet, so you'll see me kind of polish these as we go. I'm kind of in this weird transitionary period now, so it feels less natural for me to do some of these changes, but by the time I compete, it will feel more natural. So as you're watching this documented real time, it may look a little bit more clumsy as I start to implement some of these tweaks with regards to the posing. But all that to say, with this updated footage, you can hopefully tell that I am leaning out significantly. And again, the video here and the pictures don't really do it justice. When I'm looking in the mirror, I can see vascularity coming through my abdominals, my obliques. I'm starting to get vascularity in my back now. Like, I am most certainly getting leaner which is the whole goal of the prep. So I feel really good about that. I've been able to maintain my strength across the board on all lifts. Like I said, I'm not really getting heavier on the lifts necessarily, but I feel really good about the weights that I am pushing with the lifts, and I don't feel like I've lost any tangible strength whatsoever. Leverage points are going to change as I lean out and lose body weight, but I don't think I've lost any skeletal muscle, which is the goal. So that said, it's pretty much a wrap on the Week 13 prep update series. So I will see y'all next time for Week 14.